Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. This is a spring edition. We're a little late because of that. I mean, we just time traveled for an hour. But have you ever wondered how storytelling shapes our tomorrow? Well, on today's episode, things might get a little chippy. Stick around because we're going to wake up the inner giant. Boom. Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. I'm Ryan Morris, co-creator, co-host of Wake Up with Giants TV, a tribe of giants, and my 12 journeys. It's scrolling down at the bottom right now, my12journeys.com. I'm here with Nick Smith, the author of that. See that? It's his name on there. He's got his name on this book
So
because he
special.
wrote it, The Giants and the Smalls.
So special.
And then
Yeah.
because of him, we got our hands into all kinds of crazy stuff, and then today we're gonna have a little chippy discussion. It's gonna be fantastic.
The Church of Chip is what we're going to do.
The Church of Chip.
If you skip the church right now, it's totally worth it.
Yeah, but if you haven't gone to my12journeys.com, go do it. Go check it out. Especially if you're a coach. If you need a framework, if you need support, if you need something that you can just run your clients through and help them see where they're at in the world, become a whole human again instead of part of a human. I don't know. That's weird. We're all whole humans ish. But you can go through that framework. We've put together such an amazing resource on my12journeys.com. Even if you're not a coach and you want to sign up and learn and grow and have access to a ton of content, that is the place to go. my12journeys.com. And if you want to hang out with Chip, he's not here. So
so there he gone. We get it, man. We get it. Sometimes
it's like, nah, I don't want to go there. I don't want to be
these
here.
intros are a little long. He's like, man, I'm not doing this.
He's a long-winded dude. Well, before I get too long-winded, is there anything else that you would add to that? In fact, Nick, I think there is, because you've got you got a little free gift. You want to do that now?
Free gift, yeah. I put that in the comments. So if you guys look for that, it's a GPT application to express your gratitude. It'll help you dive a little deeper on your gratitude today, count what's positive, and we'll actually give you a little affirmation you can carry throughout the day. It's totally free. You do need a GPT Plus account to use it, but that's a gift for you today. Go grab that. The link's in there in the comments. And it'll reference you back to My 12 Journeys. If you want to come visit us, we would love to have you come over and join us. So
awesome of you, dude.
Yeah, thanks. Should we introduce our guy, our guest?
No, yes.
Our amazingness, yes. So Giants, welcome back to Wake Up with Giants TV. Today we dive into the future with a visionary who's reshaping the narrative of success through the lens of AI and storytelling. So he's turned the art of narrative into a strategic powerhouse, guiding figures from every corner of fame and leadership to create stories that not only tell, but transform. From elevating a company's valuation from $25 million to an eye-watering, and this is tear creating, right, $2.2 billion, to pioneering the integration of AI in marketing and community building, Chip Hopper stands as a beacon of innovation and influence. His work, celebrated on prestigious platforms like Forbes and Entrepreneur Weekly, reflects a commitment to creating a legacy that transcends the conventional. So Giants, join me in welcoming the storyteller of the future, the architect of legacy through AI and narrative, Chip Hopper. Welcome to the show.
Wow, that is the best intro I've ever had. So
that one. He's a great dancer.
And he's a great dancer. We've heard that, right? Like I just thought of the Sandlot, the Sultan of Slash, the
Sultan of SWAT, the great Chip Hopper.
The great Chip Hopper. Welcome, man. We're glad to have you here.
So great to be here. Yeah, one of the things I often say is, I'll tell somebody my opinion. I'll say that's the philosophy of Chip mingled with reality. So the Church of Chip is a good fit. Right?
You have to know where that reference comes from to get that one. That's funny.
Yeah, but that was awesome.
Some people will get that, and others will be like, "Man, it's good."
I got the opportunity to meet Chip live in person, not too long ago through Kelly Cardenas. So that was kind of a cool deal. And he's real. He's a real dude. Yeah. And he's just as good looking and amazing in real life too. And so we're excited to have him.
And he kept all of his hair.
And he got all of his hair. Yeah.
Lucky bastard.
I almost wore a hat today, but then I didn't, because I'm like, I got hair.
For the rest of us, we got a hat fish.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he looks good. Never mind.
Like, put it on, put
it back. Well, our goal here is to dive through your journey. We want to dive into your journey. We want to dive into your philosophies for life. Usually where we start out is somewhere in your life where you thought you were somebody, you had an identity that you'd created either through culture, society, family, even your own experiences. You thought that's who you were. Maybe wasn't leading to the life you thought you wanted. And there was a bit of dissonance in that. And then you had an awakening moment to, there's got to be something more. I mean, did you have something like that, or have you been always awesome from the beginning?
Yes, I just woke up awesome, and I was like,
get out of the womb.
Yeah. So these are what we call pivot stories, or that I call pivot stories when helping write books with people and things. But I have a number of moments in my life that really shifted things from a very young age. I was very connected to the human body. This is a fun story, but when I was 5 and 6 years old, my dad was in medical school, and he would take me to the cadaver lab and put me on the table and teach me the muscles of the body as he dissected.
Hopefully not you. Yeah.
And I fell in love with the human body from a very young age. And as I grew into high school, that really became a love for the mind and how we think. And I've always loved storytelling, and it's gone through an evolution of different ways of storytelling, from helping pioneer the animation program at BYU to writing books with celebrities and professional athletes, and helping people really tell their stories. So one of the stories that shifted the way that I viewed life was I worked in the backcountry of Yellowstone as a youth, taking groups on high adventure treks for a week across West Yellowstone Lake and up through the mountains and things. And as you know, there are lots of bears in Yellowstone, and had several experiences with bears. But one of them, so what would happen is, in Yellowstone, you can only have a certain number of people in each campsite. And so as the leader of the group, I'm 16 years old, and I'm dividing these groups of Boy Scouts and their scoutmasters into these campsites as I go. And I usually keep the fastest kids with me, because we have to drop off at campsites sometimes across a 2-mile range, right? And so we'll drop off some at one campsite, some at another, until we ultimately end up with just a small group at the final campsite. In the morning, we get up and we walk back and collect all the groups, and then we continue hiking. So we get an extra 15 miles of hiking during the week because we're picking up these groups, right? So this one week we had gone, and I came to the last site, and I had 3 12, 13-year-old boys that were with me, and they had their one tent, and I had my little T tent, or the upside down V, whatever you call those one man little tents.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And and we decided that there was a little river. We still had some lights, so we went and did some fishing. Came back to the camp, ate some fish, and then they decided they wanted to go fishing again. And I decided I was going to write in my journal or write a letter. I don't remember exactly what I was writing, but I got in my tent, and I had the fly screen zipped up and the rest of the outside of the tent open. And I remember I was sitting there writing, and I heard a noise outside my tent, and when you spend a lot of time in the outdoors, you kind of learn to feel the weight of sound as it comes, right? The weight of an animal, you can kind of hear going through the bushes. You're like, wow, it's a big animal, or it's not. And I could tell this was a big animal that was outside the tent. And so I remembered a little bit too late that I hadn't washed the fish smell off my hands. And so I'm sitting halfway in the sleeping bag, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to slide my hands in the sleeping bag, and I'm going to lay down slowly on my back. So I lay down on my back. My face is facing the netting of this screen, of the mosquito screen on the end of the tent. And around the corner comes this grizzly bear. And the grizzly bear leans against the mosquito netting and is looking eye to eye with me. I'm looking up, he's looking down. And, with big animals and dogs, and do this as well, where they'll breathe out to breathe in the smell. They kind of create the space of getting the sense up there. This grizzly bear pokes its nose right against this screen, inches from my face, breathes out, the little bit of snot comes through the screen on me, and it smells and is smelling me. And I remember I was sitting there just in complete terror for myself. And then I heard the boys they were down just in a little bit of a ravine down at the water playing. And I heard their laughs as they were coming back up the hill. And I remember that immediately my fear shifted 100% from me to them. There was no more, I had no fear for myself anymore. It completely disappeared. And fortunately, the noise of the boys coming up the hill startled the bear, and the bear turned and trotted off up over another ridge. Just as they were coming up out of the ravine, this bear goes up over this ridge.
No way.
And so they don't even see the bear, and they come up, and I unzip and get out of the tent, and they're like, hey, what's going on? Oh, wait, you're a little white. What's up? And I told them about the bear, which they're like, whatever. There wasn't a bear there. But what's funny is the bear did come back later in the evening when we were in our tents and things. But we don't need to get into that part of the story. But the point of this was a pivot in my life where I realized the power that we have and the way we think to change our reality. And that really was kind of one of the first pivot points of this journey. There were definitely others, but the ability to look at your life differently just by changing your mind, that was probably one of the biggest.
What's interesting is whenever we build up to a show, we have things come into our space that we don't know are connected to the show. But there was a funny one actually this morning. It says, friends don't let friends become bear bait. And it's somebody pushing their friend down right in front of a bear, which is, that joke is always there, but holy crap. So you realize in that moment, right, that you can shift your story. You can shift who you think you are. How did that shift things for you outside of that scenario? Like, what did that do in your outer world?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. What it did was it, every experience since that time has been an experience that I look at it, and I've refined these questions over the years, but the questions that I've come to when I have a thought, my first question to myself is it true? And my second question is it really true? And my third question is it serving?
Is it really true?
No. Well, yeah, I could go there too. But if I keep saying yes, it's true, then I keep asking, is it really? Right. So is it really, 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 really true?
Sorry, say the third one again, since I was an idiot and interrupted.
So, once you realize that it's just a truth that you're creating, then the question becomes, is this truth serving me? Is thinking this way serving me? And when you realize, so I've done several books on perception and a movie on perception and some of these things, and perception to me is one of those really interesting areas.
Let's dive into it. Okay.
And when they talk, what was that show, The Brady Bunch, where they go, Marcia, my kids will go, perception. But the truth is that we all see reality and we see life through our own lens, and we can't see it any other way than through our own lens. And what happens is the you that you know exists only in your mind. The you that someone else knows is a different version of you. There's no way that they can have the same version of you.
Yeah.
And it becomes, in essence, a multiverse. And it's a multiverse of you. And when you start to think about it that way and you realize, wow, no matter what I do, no matter who I think I am, I will always be something different in each mind of each other person. And that really frees you up to go back to those questions of, is it true?
Yeah.
Because if you're the only one, if you only exist in your mind the way you are, then why are you writing a story that isn't one that you love?
Let's can we dive? I want to dive how that's created, and then how to shift that, right? Because you talk about the momentary shift that happens. But for a lot of people, they're so stuck in their story, they can't see that solution. That's too easy. That's too easy, right? Yeah. So if we go back into the neurobiology of it, the creation of it, that whole identity, right? 0 to 7, 7 to 13, that whole creation of you as you think you are, right? Can you dive into some ideas on how we create ourselves? How do we become who we think we are? This whole identity that we've created, our character, our essence, ethics, morals, values, attitudes, beliefs, right? It's all created. It's all made up.
Yeah.
And there's neurobiology in it, right?
And there's so much to that, right? Like there's so many different directions we can talk about this narrative that we create. And you kind of mentioned a little bit of this, which is at a very young age, often before the age of 7, we have defined the way we view life.
Right.
And most of us are letting a 7-year-old drive our car still throughout our lives. It's when you start to think about, wait a minute, I have a 7-year-old, my 7-year-old self is driving my life and where I'm going and what I'm choosing. That can really open up the space to go, okay, now let me look at myself as patterns, and what patterns are serving me and what patterns are not serving me. What patterns do I have in place because of things that have happened to me in my past? And what patterns do I have that I can shift and change? And for me, this is a powerful tool that we can use as we say, for example, you get mad or you get offended or you have something happen. If you can sit at it and not judge it, this isn't about saying, oh my gosh, I don't want to feel anger, I don't want to feel pain. This isn't about, hey, I'm always going to resonate happy thoughts, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm going to ignore that. But this is about accepting the feeling and emotion you're going through, realizing that we are
without making it wrong, right? It's
we're human beings, and any feeling that you're feeling, you're being, and those are energy patterns, those are waves, and understanding why you're feeling it and what's causing you to feel that way. And is it a pattern that makes me feel rejection? Is it my own piece, right? We are very much pattern recognition machines. And if we look at our lives, every choice that we're making is based off of belief systems that we've created for ourselves. And one of my favorite sayings is that our past is determined by our present rather than our present being determined by our past.
But too many are living from that remembered presence, right?
Yeah.
What they are present with isn't the present, it's all their memories, right?
And see, the thing with your memories is the only way you can look at your memories is through your present lens. So your past is defined by your present. You can't look at your life through the lens that you had, because your lens, as it shifts, there is no way for our brains to go, yes, this is the lens that I was looking through before, I'm going to look through it again now. And so the way we think about things today defines our past. And in essence, we can become time travelers and change our story, because our story is how we perceive it.
Okay, so the earliest story, I think, is a story of Gilgamesh, 25,000 BC, somewhere in there, or 20, maybe it was 2500 BC, the story of Gilgamesh. Like we live on stories from the beginning of time. People have told stories, right? The word narrate means to tell what you know, and to predict, like we do these predictions, is to, before you speak it, to predict or dictate, right? You have a chance to play it out. So we play out these narratives and we speak them, we tell our narrative. So we're just a repetition of these stories that we've told. And then the brain is designed for automation, and it supports automation. So whatever you repeatedly do, you become, and then you think that's you, but it's not you. It's either the story you were handed from your family, culture, society that you augmented, or it's your whole new identity that you started telling, right? It's like, it's all made up, essentially, all of it. Do you agree with that? Or is there an element?
I absolutely agree with that. And in fact, one of my favorite things to say to people is that truth is relative.
Okay. Yeah.
And
like
and people are like, wait, no, there's truth. There's truth. I'm like, no, there is only what you believe, right? Like, can that shift? You know, people are like, well, wait a minute, what about gravity? What about this? What about these things that, and our understanding is only as good as the information that we have.
Yeah.
And, you know, Einstein was one who talked about time being relative, and how viewing something from a different space or a different speed makes time look different.
Right.
And to me, that's the way I view truth as well.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a saying that you know, a lot of people like to say this saying, which is the truth will come out, right? And there's this validation and this justification of, people might not have seen it now, but the truth will come out. And it's a deep underlying part of religion, is that there's this all-knowing being that sees the truth, right? And if someone wrongs you and you can only see it through your lens, and you're like, yeah, that truth will come out, right? Well, no, it won't, right? Because there's the way they perceive it, there's the way you perceive it. And sure, are there times where you can go, no, the car was red, and we can go, okay, yeah, the car looks like it was red.
We can all agree, right?
Right.
Yeah.
We can get to those agreements. But to me, that's where I start to look at it and I say, okay, we have what I call, I talk about a lot of things in big letter and little letter. So like a big T truth or a little T truth. And most of everything that we see is our little T truth, right? Because it's our own reality. So my little T's might match up with your little T's in some places. And we might have a collection of hundreds or thousands or even millions or maybe 8 billion people all have the same little T in the same place. And we can start to go, well, that must be a big T then, because we all see it the same. Well, then let's hop off planet, right? And go, okay, now how does that relate from somewhere else? You know, one of the most fascinating things to me about looking up into the sky at night is that we are looking into the past, because everything we see has traveled such a distance that we're seeing things that are millions or tens of millions of years old. And when you start to think about finding other life from that sense, like even someone who was 200 light years from us right now would see a completely different world. You know, the Americas just starting those types of things 100 years ago, they would see like world wars and things like that, right? And that's just 100 light years away. You know, you move to 65 million years away, and they're like, yeah, that planet has dinosaurs, right? or whatever, right? So it's
still
like,
in formation, right? It's not even a planet yet at that point, right? So the idea here is that we are a creation, an accumulation of our persistent thoughts about ourselves and our judgments. So it really comes down to our judgments. And we judge everything. You know, Carl Jung says that people judge because it's easier than thinking. But all we do is think. 50,000, 70,000 thoughts a day, 5% are original, 70% are negative. We just think, but we think we're correct because what we think is accurate. And then we look for confirmation in the world and we find it and we think, oh, you know what, I'm right because, and we find confirmation for our truths, but we're not looking for the truth. We're looking for confirmation. Right. And then we repeatedly do that.
Bias, right?
Yeah. Right. We have these fallacies, right? Fallacious thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe that's the fourth F there is fallacies, fractals, fallacies, farts, and the fuck word, right? But the idea here is that we think we are something, and that persists. We are persistent in that thinking, and then the brain supports it. The glial cells come in and support that and automate it, make it efficient. And so we go around automated thinking, oh, that's who I am, and I'm right and you're wrong. And we do, and we push our views on other people as though they're messed up and we're not.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all right. Like every one of us is right.
Yeah. I when I think along those lines, and I'm sorry, I woke up a little bit congested today. So
yeah, you're good. We can handle that.
But when you talk about science, people talk about science, and they often start to think in terms of truth. But when you really break down the scientific method process of going through things, right, it is coming up with a hypothesis and then going out and trying to prove it false. You're not trying to prove it true. You're trying to go, how can I challenge this thinking? And as long as every time I challenge it, it comes back showing that it fits, then we hold that principle as a scientific, we hold that hypothesis in place, right? But the minute we can prove why it's not true, then it becomes something different. So even gravity, for example, what creates gravity, what causes gravity? We've come up with a number of theories and hypotheses.
Yeah.
Right? Hypothesize.
Yeah, hypothesize. Now I want pie. Why do I want pie?
Right.
It rhymes.
But that's the way, if we can approach life that way, right? Going back to the question of, is it true? Right.
That's powerful. Yeah.
How can you challenge it?
Yeah, the even belief systems, right? The Germanic belief means it comes from Glauben, which means to hold dear. So it's the truths that we hold on to the most. And people are like, well, that's unethical, that's immoral. But who's deciding? Right? Morals are individual, ethics are collectively agreed to. And depending on the culture you're in, ethics will change from one culture to the next. So who's actually like, where are the ultimate ethics? Where are the ultimate morals? Like who is truly true here?
Yeah.
And so your idea, when you say, is it true? How could you frame that? Because is it true according to you, or is it collectively true? Does that make sense?
It does. And this is one of the questions that I love to ask people to really get them thinking. And I'll say, because going to your point, Nick, which is you're brilliant. Like you've got so much, like I love, I could talk to you forever, but
we can create that, man. So
that's why I keep making him come to my work. Wherever I work, Nick has to come just so that I could be around Nick and get my Nick time in.
You know what I feel like is that Jim Carrey, when he's got the umbilical cord tied to him. That's how I feel with Ryan. We got that umbilical.
But and I don't want to get us banned on Facebook, because I got a ban on my account from Facebook because I mentioned one of these names from the World War II, and but
that's okay. We broadcast to others, so we're safe. At least we got one acre somewhere. So get us banned.
But it's like wait, you might be a sympathizer, you might be a promoter of this, and I'm like, no, I'm not. Like I'm probably one of the most peaceful people you can meet, right? But one of the powerful questions that I ask people is, if you had lived in Germany in World War II, would you have followed that belief system that was being set up? And when people are like, when their first response is, absolutely not, that's awful, that's horrible. My way of taking that is going to your point of, that's because the only way they're perceiving it is from their current belief systems, which are built around societal belief systems, religious belief systems, other systems. And to me, someone who is so ingrained in their current belief systems that they can't step into it and say, wow, if I were in another belief system, I might believe differently. Those are the people that I think would most likely believe in whatever belief system they were born into.
Yeah. Philip Zimbardo's work, the Stanford prison experiment. He wrote a book on how truly every one of us is capable of evil. We are just as capable as those people of doing that as being good. You know, it doesn't matter. And when you, I think the sign of intelligence is the ability to hold an idea that you disagree with in your space without having to attach to it. And too many of us are so, like you said, we're so ingrained with what we were raised with that we think that's us. And anything that counters that or conflicts with that or causes dissonance with that, we resist it. So we won't even look at it. But the sign of an intelligent human is the ability to look at it. Just look at it. It doesn't mean you agree with it. But the idea, that thought experiment that, am I capable of what they did? Absolutely. 100%. I am capable of that. Right. Just as much as they were. And depending on the culture you're raised in, you're just as capable of anything in this world as anybody else.
Yeah.
So that suspending judgment, you know, it's almost like the he who is without sin, let them cast the first stone. It's like, that is none of us, right? We are all capable of that.
Yeah. And I would shift even like, so again, I'm big into words, right?
Yes.
And I love what you're talking about that sign of intelligence. And I very much agree. And I would shift the word from a view that you don't agree with to just opposing views, right?
I like that. Yeah.
Because what happens is we attach words to things that give a meaning. I have friends that like, they'll talk about going through life as growth, right? And everything that happens to them helps them to grow. And I'm like, well, really what's happening is you're changing, right? Growth is a term that we define to say that we're becoming better, or we're doing more, or we're giving a spin to it, right? So for me, I try and take out those words that create,
I like that. Yeah.
You know, at least when you're thinking philosophically, right?
Yeah.
When you start to think about your life, it's great to attach words that tell your story in a way that is powerful and beautiful. There's a great picture of a guy on a bus. It's a drawing, right? There are two guys on the bus, and on one side there's this cliff face, and on the other side there's this, you know, it's a cliff on both sides, but one is a wall that you're looking at, and the other is this beautiful view. And one guy on the bus is looking at the beautiful view, and one guy on the bus is looking at the wall. And every moment in our lives has that ability that we can look one way or the other. And when people ask me how I'm doing, my response is amazing. And it's a pattern interrupt for a lot of people because they don't expect me to say amazing. And they're like, wow. They'll say things like, oh, amazing, that's a good one, I'm going to use that. Or they'll say, wow, I wish I was amazing. But when you dig into it, I consider life very, very Charles Dickens, right?
Yeah.
So how am I really doing? I'm doing Charles Dickens because it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. And it always is. And it always will be. Every moment of life we can look at and we can see, just like, I mean, I woke up today. I'm not 6 feet under. I'm above ground. Like,
yeah, that's a good start.
Day, right?
Yeah.
Even though I felt like I was 6 feet under because I got robbed of an hour of sleep, and it's fine.
But even that, right? Like that becomes a judgment of what's happening, a justification for what we're going through. And anytime we're in that, learning stops. It just interrupts it. If I can be justified in my way of seeing things, I don't have to learn anything. Right?
Yeah, this gets into where we grow, right?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people talk about trying to find balance in their lives, and they talk about you know, faith, family, fun, all these things that they want to bring together and say, I need balance. I need this balance of my life. And for me, when I look at balance, to me, balance means that you are standing still. Because the minute you take a step, you're out of balance. And for me, what I look at to tell people is I say, rather than balance, are you stepping in the direction that makes sense with your desires? So does your calendar line up with your desires? And when it does, you're in harmony. And for me, it's about harmony over balance.
Okay,
So,
I want to explore this part now. So we've got the inner world kind of dialed in as far as what we're talking about when we're talking about this identity, character, essence, this whole thing we call us, this Nick Smith, this Chip Hopper, right? Who's Chip Hopper. And I do this intro coming in, and it's like, okay, that's a version of Chip Hopper. It sounds great. It's one
True though.
version. It is true, right? But then there is this stepping into places you've never been before, which we're always doing anyway. Nassim Nicholas Taleb, the mathematician, the author of The Black Swan, powerful, powerful philosopher and mathematician, like a beautiful combination. And he talks about being, anti-fragile, right? And stepping into the unknown and uncertainty. And we talk about uncertainty in the 12 Journeys program that we run. And uncertainty is vital because truly nothing is written, nothing is certain. And you might have consistency. So when you talk about science measuring things and you try and prove it wrong, but it consistently happens, and you have some certainty that that's the case, but there is still a possibility it may not do what you've measured it to do, because mathematically everything is possible. And Margaret Drabble saying that, when nothing is sure, everything is possible is true. It's all possibility. But we tend to take into the possibility what we've always done. So we consistently do what we've always done, getting the same results we've always gotten. And we call that insanity. We keep getting into that loop, right? And so the question becomes, how do you transform and step into the unknown in a new way when you've never been there before? You don't even know how to be the person that does what you want to do. And you've got to hold on to this thing, we'll call it faith, that you can even create it, but it's never been done before. And you're delusional, and people call you delusional because you're thinking into something that hasn't existed before. And even science shows that delusion makes people happy. The happiest people are delusional. Mm-hmm. And the ones that are realists are comedians, right?
There's a lot of truth to that.
Right. So for you in your world, when you're stepping into creating something that's never been created before, this never existed before you're bringing the ethereal into the material.
Yeah.
How do you navigate? How do you keep going? I love these how-tos because they're all just complete uncertainty questions, right? But what is your method for that? Your philosophy?
Man, Nick, you just touched on like 50 points that we could go into like deep conversations on, right? Like it's like, and I love your brilliance on all of these. And
thank you.
But I'll go straight to the question of what you're asking. And when we look at what's around us, the most real answer that we have right now is that everything is energy. And we have this hypothesis that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be changed and expressed differently.
Yeah, beautiful.
And when we look at that, what that means then is that everything that has ever happened and everything that could possibly happen already exists in the energy. And it is only a matter of the way it's expressed and the way we see it. And for me, I see thought almost like this cloud of information. And when you express that in words, or when you say that, you're taking that cloud and you're making it into something more substantial. You're making it into words. So you're moving those thoughts into words. And one of the reasons I love books is because authors have taken that cloud and made it into something more substantial. And then you can take thought and move into action and continue down this path of creation, right?
Beautiful. I love where you're taking this. Yeah, that's awesome.
And so when I read a good book, it's not as much about, oh my gosh, I've never had that thought. It's like, wow, they were able to take this thought that resonates with me and put it into words that I can now use in a sentence and a structure. Right? There's a lot of science around the deeper our vocabulary, the better our experience, because we're able to think and express in more ways. If you take the emotions and you can just say, I'm happy, or I'm sad, or I'm angry, right? That doesn't give you a lot of bandwidth for feeling.
And it might be inaccurate too,
Yeah.
right?
And if you can
It might be
expand it into,
mislabeling.
yeah, you know, if you can expand it into more words, then you create this deeper space.
Okay,
And,
so you got my mind like
yeah.
buzzing, right? So Einstein, we all have the same brain as Einstein. Same, 86 billion neurons, 85 billion glial cells, same mass, approximately 2.5 petabytes of information you can store in there. Like you store the internet twice in one human brain, but everybody goes around and say, oh, I don't have the brain for that. I could never learn that. You're special. I'm not special. So that becomes their truth. So they don't learn. Einstein, his neocortex was bigger in mass than most people's. His hippocampi, everything else was pretty similar. But his neocortex was bigger, which is the area of the brain that's used to manipulate information. So he said that imagination is more important than knowledge. So it's not what you know, because a lot of people know a lot of things. They can recite a lot of things, but they don't know how to manipulate it and imagine with it. And Einstein's ability to imagine with it and create with it is what created his intelligence, his genius, right? Is that he took what was known and imagined with it and created what was not known yet.
Yeah.
Right. And so that power that we have to really take the abundance that's there, because what you're describing is the laws of thermodynamics that say that energy is not created or destroyed, it's only transformed. It says that everything that we need is already here to create with. It's up to us to imagine with it and create using the abundance that's already here to create what we're imagining, to make it material. Right. And the way we do that, I love the cloud thought idea, is because now we're taking these cloud thoughts, we're predicting how it's going to play out. So before we speak it, we have a chance to pre-speak it. God can only imagine what would happen if we spoke it, it became reality, like Ghostbusters, right? The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. That would be a mess.
But the crazy thing is, Nick, it does, right?
Tell us about go into
like
that.
I'm actually so I do a lot of books for other people, and I'm actually now working on some books for myself. And one of those is on intuition, and one is on the power of words. And when we speak words, we are actually creating something. We're moving from an energy state towards a matter state.
Is that the first step in mattering? Is it? I mean, I'm curious.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic way of looking at it, right?
Yeah.
Joe Dispenza talks a lot about bringing your future self to your present self. And for me, there's such a strong tie there because the way we speak, the way we think creates a reality, right? A lot of times we live in this space of, and I'm jumping back and forth between authors, but in Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about the difference between motion and action. And we can sit in this motion space of talking about doing things, right? Like if you're in a relationship and you go to your therapist, right? And you're sitting there and you're like, I wish that I had a relationship where my wife and I loved each other more. And if X, Y, and Z happens in order, then we can get to the space where we actually love each other more. To me, that's motion, right? The action would be, we love each other more. And how am I manifesting that now? If that is my belief in my head, how am I acting? Rather than saying, once these things happen, then this will be my belief, right?
We condition things, right?
Yes. When relationships start, for example, it's like, I'll take out the trash because I love you.
Yeah.
Later in the relationship, it's like, I'll take out the trash because no one else is doing it.
Yeah. It's a slippery slope, right? The beauty of this is it's all created. It is all made up material. Richard Paul Evans said that chaos is the mine of creation. I love that. That it's essentially everything you need is already there. It's up to you to mine it and then create with it. And it starts with your words. But before you even speak it, like there's this clutch almost. It's like you're driving a stick shift and you got a clutch. The prediction is the clutch. It's like there's a gap between reality and your mind, the ethereal and the material, and it's that prediction. So before you speak it, you play it out and you strategize it, and then you speak it to the world. And that's the first step in creation, is that declaration, is this is mine. It's the desire, right? That word desire, meaning of siring, to sire, to seed, to plant into the world. It's our desires are the things that we're starting to seed or plant into the world by our speaking, right? And then it's a matter of activity and cultivating. Like, am I accurate in that? Is it enough to just speak it and magically it's going to appear in your life? And you're like,
right. So there's speaking it and there's believing it.
Yeah.
Right? So some of the science shows, like, and Stephen Kotler gets into this quite a bit, but if you think about yourself, there are certain parts of your brain that light up. If you think about someone else, different parts of your brain light up. And what they found is that if you try and say, this is me in 5 years, that part of your brain that lights up is thinking about someone else, not about yourself.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so just speaking those words, if you're speaking in a state where you're not seeing it as yourself, then you're thinking about it as someone else. So there is power in the words, right? But this goes back to Joe Dispenza of bringing our future self to our present self. And actually, and we talk about, like, manifesting, we talk about I am, or I'm this, or I'm that, right? But if you're not believing it, if you wake up every morning, you're like, I'm a millionaire, and then you can't find money to buy food for your table, you're creating a dissonance for yourself that is, it's not connecting, because your reality is not matching up to these affirmations that you're saying.
So how do you bridge it? How do you bridge that? Right? Because there is a gap between where you are, your reality as it is, and the reality that you're creating. And you may not fully believe the statement, I am a millionaire, but could bridge statements like I am becoming, or I am learning to be, help bridge that gap? Or what do you suggest?
I am becoming becomes difficult, because again, you put yourself in a space of you're here and you want to be here, right?
Pushing it out, right?
So what I do, and I'm not, like, constantly learning, right?
Yeah.
But are there things you can say that you can believe, right? I am grateful for my life every day. Right? What moves you towards these goals of, I want to be a millionaire? Okay, what does that mean? Well, that means one of the things I do is I get up every day and I take this action, right? Because I'm taking the actions that make me a millionaire, then you become that, right? So instead of saying, I see myself, and I love, like, people have said these things so beautifully. So one of the reasons I throw out author names is because some of these people have already said these thoughts that we all have in such beautiful ways. And Mel Robbins really talks about this really well. She talks about it as being on the other side of a bridge, right? And if you are talking about where you are on the other side of a bridge, you need to be able to build that bridge in the middle. So I'm going to have a 6-pack. Well, what does that mean today? Well, that means today I'm going to choose not cake, right? Because 80% of the 6-pack is made in the kitchen.
Not cake.
Choose not cake.
Donuts instead, and ice cream. Right.
I'm going to have the donut hole rather than the donuts.
Yeah. We went
now
down.
I realized I've chosen cake.
This is actually really quite beautiful, because it's gratitude, right? The foundation of all abundance. It turns what we have into enough and more. The idea of gratitude, this app that I just shared, in the comments, is designed around expressing gratitude. Count your blessings, because when you can start to be in the positive, because too many of us are wanting to be a millionaire because we don't want to have what we have today. So we're not expressing gratitude. And when you're not expressing gratitude, it's hard to create anything positive, because you're living in scarcity. You're living in not abundance, right? So it really starts with, and going to your idea of not cake, right? Today, if I'm going to build a bridge from where I am to where I'd like to be, today starts with laying one brick toward that bridge, or putting one slat on, or and that is the profundity. Is that, can we use that as a word? The profoundness of this is that it's these small and simple actions. We call them fractals. Benoit Mandelbrot, the mathematician, created the equation that created the idea of fractals, which are self-similar patterns that repeat ad infinitum, right? It's by small and simple things repeated that we create the complexity of life. Sic parvis magna. And so these small steps create the slat, the brick, the piece of wood that goes into the bridge that creates the difference tomorrow. And I think too often we want to make the quantum leap. We don't want to put down. I'm not going to do a brick today. Are you kidding me? Yeah, I want a 6-pack, but I want the 6-pack to happen magically and manifest. And this bullshit of working for it and laying down one brick at a time, like, come on.
Yeah. And I think the clarity of what it entails is important, right? Because if you have a mantra that you write down every day and you say, I mean, let's use the one that I'm going to be fit, right? And you have that up on your mirror in the morning. Well, as you go through your day, that thought will come to you, each choice that you're making, right? The things that you repeat are going to stick in your brain. But when that comes, what does that mean, right? So if it means like, hey, I'm going to get up, I'm going to take some steps instead of sitting in my chair, or I'm going to eat this instead of this. So the more clarity you can give to what it looks like.
Right. Not monster, not cake.
Yeah. I've been trying to get out of the monsters. Here's and I know you know this, right? But the not cake is a fun saying, but our minds can't think in words like don't and not, right? Because if I say think not cake, what's the thing that comes to mind, right? The cake, right? So
damn it.
So it's
now I want cake.
Homemade carrot cake with a little bit of pineapple in it, carrots. Oh, so good. Cream cheese frosting.
And we talk about this like my favorite analogy for this is I coached a lot of sports for youth for decades, right? I love football and soccer and all those things. But one of the fun things in soccer is you got these kids that are like 6, 7 years old and they're slow and they all move slow but they stand in front of this goal that is like massive compared to them. Yet kids come down the field with the ball and almost every time the goalie gets it. And you're like, how is the goalie getting the ball? When he just barely has to bend down to get the ball, right? And it comes down to the way that our minds work, right? And where we focus is, where your focus goes, your energy flows, right?
Oh man,
And so these kids will run down the field and they're like, I want to kick it not at the goalie, not at the goalie, not at the goalie. And where do they kick it? To the goalie.
Right at it, right at the goalie.
And if you can teach those kids to look at the corner of the goal and say, this is where I want it, this is where I'm focused, you'll start to win like every game, almost to the point that it's like, it feels unfair to go out and compete with other teams that aren't doing this, right?
It, in motorcycle riding, there's a thing called object fixedness. And what you look at when you're making a turn, if you look at an object, you're going to go at that object and you're going to hit it, right? So you have to break your contact.
Yeah.
And I love that. That just anchors that in. That's all. That's the only reason I'm sharing that, is just anchors it in for me.
I'm loving these comments from the people that are
Chip, it's like the beauty of it is all of us have this available to us. Every human has this available. The reason we don't think we do is because we tell ourselves all the reasons why we can't. And therefore that becomes a reality. And you look at the giants and the smalls, and that's essentially the story. The manifesting is that small lived a small life, told himself that's how it was. That's what was. The moment he started questioning it, it opened up. And questions are powerful because they get you, depending on the questions, right? You ask questions that like, why am I an idiot? You're going to get answers of why you're an idiot, right?
Yeah, I'm a big believer that there are stupid questions. The better the questions, the better the life.
Yeah.
Right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that the questions are bad questions, but are there better questions?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And it's the same with everything. When you read a book, is that good to read a book? Sure. Are the words good? Great. But are there better books? Are there better things? When you start to look at your mental health the same way you look at your physical health, of what should I be putting in my mind? Should I be on Clubhouse listening to like random people spout random thoughts? Or would it be better to get on a podcast of someone who has been in this space for 20 years that is doing this? And like, what is it that you're feeding your brain? right?
Yeah.
Just to jump real quick, you talked about greatness, and one of my favorite things about my job of working with celebrities and athletes and being surrounded by like just events where you're with people that have done just amazing things with their lives.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about that has been that these people will come stay with me. Like I'll have celebrities stay in my home, or I'll be able to travel and sit in spaces with them. And sometimes I get to take my son or my kids. And my favorite thing about it is that my kids get to see that greatness is just a choice.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Right.
Beautiful.
And these people that are amazing, like you go and sit with these people that have done amazing things, and they still go to the bathroom, they still eat, they still do, like they're just people. Like we're
Fall
humans.
asleep. They have emotions, all the
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah, they get angry, they get sad, they laugh about things.
Yeah.
And for my kids to be able to see that is just super, super powerful.
If I were to recap, there's one more question I'll ask you here, but if I were to recap just the process here of who you think you are is everything, because it affects your perception. So if you think you are something, that's what shows up in your world, because that's what you act on. That's what you speak into the world. That's what you act on. That's what shows up. And it's consistent. It's an outer reflection of your inner world, right?
Yeah.
And the way to shift it isn't through quantum leaps. It's really recognizing and catching it, not judging it, allowing it to be what it is, but that at the same time rewriting the narrative, and then taking one small step at a time to create patterns. The brain kicks in and eventually supports that, where that becomes automated. That becomes your new persona, your new perception, and that shifts the way you walk into the world. And you just keep repeating that. You add to it and you repeat it. And I love the words like intention, attention, tending to, entertainment. They're all tied to stretching, right? And all of these words tie into that. And it's one of the most common words that we use is, oh, it's got my attention. Well, of course it's got your attention. You're stretching towards somebody else's goal.
Mm-hmm.
You're helping them to stretch their goal. And many of us could be putting that attention into our own change and transformation, but somebody else has it. TikTok has it, right? And so they get it. So it really comes down to it's available to all of us. We're all equipped with the same kind of equipment. It's not like there's anybody special out there. We all have the ability to rewrite our story. So it's up to us to rewrite it.
And we, as we rewrite it, we rewire our brains. So we actually think differently. We actually are different, right? There's a common phrase out there of fake it till you make it. And I completely disagree with that phrase, right? Because even the word choice is suggesting that you are pretending to be something that you're not. Right?
Yeah.
And if we can shift it to be it until you are it, right? That creates a space of the choice of words of how we're looking at it.
That's amazing. Like it comes down to that common language, that being, right?
Yeah. Because our lives truly are which way we look. And so there always is an element of what future are we looking? What are we bringing into reality? And that can often be things that you don't currently have, right? I touched on intuition a little bit, and here's where I think most people get intuition wrong. And I'm a huge believer in intuition, that you can sense and feel things and bring things into your reality. The challenge is that we all resonate at certain frequencies, and what feels good to you is what you are currently resonating at. So if you are following your intention when you're sitting in a space where you don't want to be, your intention will often bring things into your life that keep you where you are, right? So you have to really shift. You have to shift that mindset. Again, going back to the first thing we talked about, which is mindset and the way you think. If you want to listen to your intuition, you've got to move yourself from your present self, bring your future self to you, and then listen to your intuition to create the world that you want with your intuition, rather than creating the world that you already have over and over again.
I like that. You said the word because, right? If you break that down, be, and then cause, right? Not cause. This is a shameless plug. Cause green, not cause green. Don't be cause. No, he's a cool guy. But be the cause of the change in your life. Be cause, right? It's a powerful when you slow down with words and you break them apart, you can really play with them and create with them. And that's the power of words anyway. They're all made up. Like we all determined this is what this means. You go to a different language, it's a different mean. It's the same word, but it's a different way of saying that same word. And so the ability to take what is and manipulate it, to shift it into something that it's not, that it's never been, is the beauty of being human, right? We really have our power in the power of imagination and action, being the cause of that creation.
Yeah.
And
man, the study of language, like you bringing that up, like language is so big to me because you can see by even if you move across languages, for example, the way you think is different. For example, English versus a Latin language. If I'm in English and I drop a cup, then I can drop the cup, but in a Latin language you can't. The cup drops itself, right?
Right.
The cup fell, which just that simple shift is taking an internal strength and making it external, which for me means that languages, if you're raised in a language like a Latin language that has that force outside of yourself, it becomes much easier to believe in an external being that is driving
se cayó la taza, right? Like it fell itself.
Yes.
Right. That's so funny. Like I haven't really thought of that. It made itself fall.
Yep. Yeah. One of my favorite movies, one of my top 10, and I love talking some of the best movies, but the movie Arrival, which is it's about aliens that come and bring a different language, and how that shifts things, right? It's just so powerful to look at what can language change for you, what can words change for you. And I love the fact that this is about storytelling because it's about the words we choose and the words that we use.
Yeah. And repeat, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you one more question. Are you okay on time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If there was a question you wish somebody would ask you, you're like, damn it, I wish, I just wish in one podcast somebody would ask me this. It could be anything, right? What would it be?
One question I wish I could be asked.
Yeah.
Wow. I am speechless for the first time in this podcast.
I love it. Or just a thought, like sometimes that triggers a thought of something you would like to share, Did that trigger something for you? Like something you would like to just have people know?
One of the thoughts that has popped into my head several times in this conversation is that it is easy for us to speak from the peaks about our life on the peaks and even about our lives in the valleys. It becomes a challenge to speak about our lives in the valleys, about the valleys. And that is when we most need others.
Yeah.
So be willing to find those people that resonate with you, that are your close friends, and speak to them about the valleys when you're in the valleys. One of my favorite quotes is, "It's not fair that you'll laugh with me, but not," and that's not the wording of it, but right, it's the sense of, I'm your friend and you'll laugh with me, but you won't come to me when there are tears, right? And we all need that circle of people that can be close and talk about those things, right? Go out into the world and manifest the amazing reality, but have that core of people that are there even when you're in the valleys.
Yeah. We could go on a whole show about that right there. Right. That is so essential. On the surface, you go onto Facebook or Instagram, everybody looks like they're doing great, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody knows that they're not doing great until they raise the flag and say, I'm struggling, right? There was a few weeks back, I put a post up. It says, I could use some prayers today. And I think any one of us could do this, and somebody will say, look, you matter, and I was blown away by the quantity of people. It was beautiful to have people say, hey man, thinking of you. Are you okay? Checking in. But if I hadn't said anything, nobody would know.
Right.
I could go along and just be like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. How are you doing, Nick? I'm good. I'm good. I'm fine. The other F word that everybody loves. I'm fine. But the reality is that authenticity and that vulnerability, that willingness to show your wounds, right, is powerful. I think is essential. Because it's sometimes really challenging to be human. We go through some stuff, and nobody knows that you need help until you raise that flag. I think of Mark Peterson. If you get a chance, go back and watch Mark Peterson's episode where he fell into the crevasse when he was mountain climbing, and he had to raise his flag for 5 days before somebody came and rescued him. And it's just like, holy crap, dude! I had like that. We don't let people know. We don't let people know that we've fallen into a crevice, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm in a valley.
And for me, like one of the things that I found though is it is good to talk about that, but not necessarily with everyone, right?
Yeah.
Because what happens in life, especially if we share about our lives, a lot of people are not in our lives often. And if we give them information or we share information with them, that's the information they carry with them, right? And energy becomes thought, thoughts become matter, and what we're putting out into the world, we create. So if we're just airing that dirty laundry, if you will, with everyone, then everyone has in their version of us the dirty laundry of your life. So like I often talk about this in relationships. Don't go and share the bad stuff about your relationship with everyone in your life because they're not going to see you all the time. They're not going to know the breakthroughs that you made. If you want to destroy your relationship, the best thing you can do is go talk to everyone about the negative things in it because it will create that reality. So make sure that you are sharing. And there's religious texts, wherever they come from, have a lot of value to them. And I think about pearls before swine, right? And this concept that if you have sacred thoughts or thoughts that are critical to you, and I often think of that as the space of if I need support, I don't need support from everyone. I need support from the people that are going to take action and do something with that support. And I can continue to manifest greatness.
Wow, that's
with,
powerful.
with my team my team that helps me get there.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's a shift for me, that perspective. Thank you for that. And I'm seeing the picture right behind you, the bridge.
Oh yeah.
I love that's beautiful. I mean, that's essentially what you're offering today is a bridge between where you are and where whatever you want to create. You're offering that bridge. And if you were to give one final message to the person across the screen from us today, there is somebody there, and some people are going to come back and watch this later, right? And you could tell them, just a direct message with you and them. What would you say to them?
You matter. And yeah, I think I'll leave it at that.
Okay. I like that.
And if you feel like you don't, reach out, because I can guarantee you from personal experience that I have not lost one friend or one person that I haven't seen people come after they were gone with expressions of how much they care about them. So you matter. Let the people you know that matter to you, let them know they matter while they're here.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Thank you, man. This is fun. I know we could go on for hours on this.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Like you have a beautiful mind, incredible philosophies. You surround yourself, and we're lucky enough to get to do these shows every week, and so we get people like you on the show, and it's like, yeah, I'm constantly learning. I'm getting coached every week by somebody new philosophies, new views, and we've done this for 4 years now, and we're just over 250 of these interviews.
Wow.
It's just beautiful, and they're all in their own way as powerful as this. And I'm just blown away. I just get to come in and absorb that. And like you said, it's what you put in eventually becomes your reality. It becomes who you are. It starts oozing out of you. So,
and here I thought you were just a good-looking dude with a hot girlfriend that knew how to dance.
And he's that too.
but the one
To
thing,
be the and, as Dave Ward would say. Oh, there he is right there.
you have the ability to dance. I definitely don't have that, so you're a beautiful human, man. I just I appreciate your mind, and thank you for sharing your wisdom with us, and just deeply grateful for you.
And thank you to all those people that are listening. I saw some of the names flash up, Ray and Dave, and
yeah.
I had the other one on the tip of my tongue. She's commented through the whole show, but
Yeah.
Probably Carrie.
What was that?
We'll put Carrie up.
Carrie,
Carrie,
yes. I'm like, it starts with a C. It starts with a C, and I didn't.
Yeah. Carrie's beautiful.
We got Hugh in here too. He's around here.
Yeah. So we have what's called the Tribe of Giants, and it's on Facebook. It's a community of 4,200 members and growing. And Carrie is in there consistently posting. Hugh is in there posting. There's Andy. Hi, Andy.
Speaking of the beautiful girlfriend,
yeah. I'm very, very blessed. She's a beautiful human. There's Hugh. And Steve Hardison was on here, and if you don't know him, his book on being is powerful. But we surround ourselves with a community of like-minded individuals that are wanting to make a positive impact in the world and a ripple. And the My 12 Journeys community, my12journeys.com, is the next level. And so for anybody that wants to step up and go to that next level, it is stocked full of content to help you do that. And so including videos like this. So Ryan, I'm curious about your thoughts as we wrapped up here. We'll finalize with you. And
I've been sitting here, and I do this a lot. Like sometimes I feel like I'm like saying all these things, and it's just in my mind as you and the guest are talking, because it's so impactful, so insightful. When I got to meet Chip, you see him and his amazing pants. If you don't find his pants and his shirts, yeah, the dude has style for sure.
He's got Riz.
Yeah, but above above and beyond all of that, it's what you feel from Chip. His being oozes or emanates from who he is, because he is that. It's not a facade. It's not the pants. It's not the shirt. It's not the hair, the good-looking hair, and the well-groomed, beard, and it's who he is. He walked up to me, and we chatted and had a great conversation, and you could feel his energy. You could feel that Chip Hopper is all of those things that we've talked about in this show. And a lot more than we could ever hit. This man is an amazing human being. If you are wondering how something like that could be in your world, reach out to Chip Hopper. Go find him. He's on LinkedIn. We got the connection right there. You can go find him. He's on social media, and he seems like he's just about everywhere all the time because of who he is. And I'm grateful to have people like that. And we were talking to Nick before the show about, Chip and some other people, some other guests that we've had, or seem like they're everywhere, and it's a small world. They put themselves out there. They just go be who they are. They be who they be, or who they want to be. And opportunities present themselves. They place themselves purposefully in different places. They connect with people. They love on people. They share with people because they want them to grow too. So Chip, I said this would get chippy. This is what I meant by chippy. We get a whole lot of Chip here, not just a chip. We get the whole Chip, and we're grateful for who you are. I'm grateful for the relationship that we have, and I hope it continues, because I need more Chip Hopper in my life too. So thanks for agreeing to be on. Thanks for the relationships that you forged that have helped us, Andrea, those connections to be able to have you here today, and Nick for being who you are, doing what you've done in creating this beautiful book, and the messages and the platforms and the gifts that you constantly give out, because that is making a difference for a lot of people. So thank you both. I appreciate you guys so much.
Wow,
Yeah, thank you.
Ryan, thank you. That was beautiful. And Nick, he might have replaced you with the best intro I've ever had right there at the end. So
he's a one-upper, that guy. He's a one-upper. Yeah.
But yeah, really enjoyed this, and
Yeah.
and yeah, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram or Messenger, Chip Hopper, LinkedIn, Chip Hopper. All of them are there. So
Perfect. Yeah, I think from now on, see, I had no idea who Chip Hopper was, but when I introduce myself to people, I'm going to say, "Hey, you want to talk about fractals, physics, or philosophy?" I think it might open up some things, man.
yeah.
We can go a little deeper. So appreciate you. For those that are watching, we love you. Remember, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're right on time. You're doing what you need to be doing. Just keep stepping. Keep stepping. Life will change. Life will change as you change as well. But you don't have to take it all on at once. You know, one small step, one small story. Start with that. Small steps create giant outcomes. After all, giants still take small steps. They're just bigger. So remember that. That's you. We love you. Thanks for being a part of our community. Go share this with somebody you love, and we will see you in the next episode.
Love you too.